Good morning. Greetings from BMS College of Engineering, Bangalore. This is a lecture series on digital signal processing, and we have seen the design of FIR filters. And now we need to move into the design of IIR filters. However, we find it is easier to design an IIR filter by first designing an analog filter and then moving into the discrete domain, since the theory of design of analog filters is well established. And hence, there is a need to take up the design of analog filters. So this will be the module on analog filter design. And we shall focus on designing the analog filters. And later on, we will try to convert the analog filters into the digital filters, which will give us an IIR filter. So now, considering a system, the analog system, let us say we have an input x of t and the output of the system is say y of t. And the system is an LTI system, a linear time invariant system. And hence the system can be represented by its impulse response. H of t. And we can compute the output of the system through the convolution operator, h of t convolved with h, through the convolution operator. Now, let us assume the impulse response h of t has a Laplace transform h of s, where the Laplace transform is given by integral minus infinity to infinity h of t e to the power of minus st dt. So this is our system transfer function, the impulse response. The Laplace transform of the impulse response is also known as the system transfer function h of s. Is the system transfer function. Is the system transfer function h of s. So now, when we want to design the analog filter, our aim is in obtaining the transfer function h of s. And usually, in design of filters, in design of analog filter, what is given to us is the frequency response, say h of omega. The frequency response h of omega. I mean, let us assume it is something like this. Let us say we are given the frequency response h of omega, and we need to design a filter that is going to have the desired frequency response. And how do we relate the Laplace response, the frequency response h of omega? We get from the Laplace transform h of s by simply replacing s by j omega. So when our s takes j omega, we get the frequency response h of omega. And this h of omega is given. So given h of omega, we need to obtain the system transfer function h of s. So in this series of modules on analog filter design, our focus will be on given frequency specifications. Given these specifications, which is usually in the frequency domain, we will try to get the h of s. And once we get h of s, of course, we are going to check if our design is perfect by obtaining the frequency response of the designed filter. Then we shall also, just for completeness, we shall try to get the impulse response h of t, the step response g of t, and also we shall go to the realization, a practical realization of the design filter using discrete components, preferably using operational amplifier and resistors and capacitors. So this is what we shall focus on. And while There are a lot of the analog filter design. The different types of filters, we have types of filters. Like for example, we have the Butterworth filter. We have the Chebyshev filter. We have the Bessel filters. We have the elliptic filters. And each has an advantage over the other, either in terms of the ripple, the energy in the ripples, or the width of the transition band. However, we shall focus our discussion only on the design of Butterworth filter. Butterworth filter. So in this module, we shall take up how to design the Butterworth filter and proceed into computing the transfer function. So let us see what are Butterworth filters. The Butterworth filters are actually all pole filters. So their transfer function can be represented as S minus S1, S minus S2, and so on up to S minus Sn. So we have only poles present for the Butterworth filter. And for a given, where here we have n as the order of the filter. N is the order of the filter. N is the order of the filter. So now, to get the location of the poles, the location of the poles for a Butterworth filter is given by e to the power of j pi 1 by 2 plus 2k minus 1 by 2n. Okay, going from k going from 1 to n. So this one single expression helps us in getting the transfer function of the Butterworth filter. And what are the salient features of a Butterworth filter? The frequency response. If you look at the frequency response of the Butterworth filter, it is going to be flat both in the pass band. It decreases and it is flat in the stop band as well. And by symmetry, we know the magnitude response always has an even symmetry. This is the magnitude response H of omega. So Butterworth filters do not have any ripples either in the pass band or in the stop band. And of course, the filters have to be stable. The filters are stable. And now when we speak of analog filters, we have the transfer function, system transfer function H of S, and on the S plane, we need to have the poles on the left half of the S plane. So the poles can lie anywhere on the left side of the S plane. Only then we have the system to be a stable system, the real and the imaginary components. Only on the left half of the S plane we'll have all our poles that ensure stability of the system. And we usually design the filter H of S for a low pass cutoff frequency of 1 radian per second. So we design the analog filter for a low pass filter with a cutoff frequency of omega c equal to 1, and then we use frequency transformations. We use frequency transformation to convert the designed low pass filter to any other low pass filter for any other cutoff, or a high pass filter, or a band pass filter, or a band elimination filter. So through frequency transformations, we can convert the low pass filter of cutoff 1 to any other filter of desired cutoff. So this frequency transformation also we shall take up in the next module. Today we shall see how to get the design the obtain the transfer function of the Butterworth filter. So let's take up the example. Say n equal to 1. So let's try to get the transfer function h of s for the first order Butterworth filter. And it is based on this equation, say k0. K0 is the DC gain, say s minus s1, because for a first order filter we'll have n equal to 1. So we have only one pole. And by equation, we have this expression as s of k equal to e to the power of j pi 1 by 2 plus 2k minus 1 by 2n by 2n. And in this particular case, n equal to 1, and I have only 1, k is also equal to 1. So what I get is s1 equal to e to the power of j pi half plus 2 minus 1 is 1. And again n is 1 by 2. So half plus half is a 1. So that is e to the power of j pi. And e to the power of j pi is a minus 1. And hence a transfer function now h of s is now k0 by s minus Butterworth filter as say k0 by s minus, and s1 is a minus 1. So s plus 1. So that's it. This is the transfer function of our first order system. And if I try to locate the, this is the transfer function. Now let us try to locate the pole zero plot. The pole zero plot for this first order system, we have only one pole, and the pole is located at minus 1. So this is the pole zero plot of the designed filter. And suppose we try to get the impulse response of the designed filter. So this is our pole zero plot, and if we attempt to get the impulse response, we know that say e power minus at ut has a Laplace transform given by 1 by s plus a. So e power minus at ut, if I try to compute the Laplace transform, we get 1 by s plus a, and hence using this result, we get the we now have our Laplace transform h of s as k0 by s plus 1, which implies the impulse response of my design filter is now k0 e power minus t ut. So this is my impulse response of the design filter. So if I try to plot the impulse response of the system at t equal to 0, it's going to be k naught, and it's an exponentially decaying function that tends to 0, and it's 0 for t less than 0. This is my impulse response of the design filter. Next, if I attempt to compute the frequency response of my design filter, say we try to compute the frequency response of the design filter, say h of omega. We know that h of omega is nothing but h of s with s equal to j omega, and hence we have this as k0 by s plus a, that is 1 plus j omega. And once again, this can be written as k0 by square root of 1 plus omega square, and the angle is given by tan inverse minus omega. So if we try to plot the magnitude and the phase response of my design filter, what we are going to get is mod h of omega. Let us look at the value at omega equal to 0. This is going to be k naught. the value at omega equal to 1. At omega equal to 1, if I try to compute the value at omega equal to 1, 1 by root 2. So 1 by root 2 is nothing but 0.707. So 0.707 times k naught, 0.707 times k naught. And similarly, I can compute for different values of omega, and we know that this is going to decrease as omega increases. And because the value is 0.70 times the value at omega equal to 0, this has a cutoff. The omega c, the 3 dB cutoff of the filter is omega c equal to 1, because the magnitude reduces to 1 by root 2 that times the value at k omega equal to 0. Similarly, if I try to draw the phase response, let's try to draw the phase response of the same filter, the first order filter. What we have is at tan inverse omega, so omega equal to 0, angle is 0. At omega equal to 1, tan inverse 1 is minus pi by 4. So because we have a minus sign, minus tan inverse omega is our phase response. Tan inverse of minus omega, and hence there's a minus thing. And then as omega increases, it and finally it stabilizes at minus pi by 2. And it's an odd symmetry. So we have an odd symmetry in the phase response, and this it stabilizes at plus pi by 2. So this is the phase response of our design filter. This is the first order Butterworth filter, H of L. I mean, getting the frequency response, the impulse response, and the pole zero plot. So now let us try to get let us just check the same results for n equal to 1. I mean the same program. So if I make n equal to 1, n equal to 1. So I'm computing my poles here, and then I'm creating the polynomial with the poles that we get. I try to get the pole zero plot. Then I get the impulse response, and then the frequency response. So let's try to run the program and see how is the result for n equal to 1, the Butterworth filter with n equal to 1. This is my magnitude response. See what we had drawn. So when my magnitude is omega is 1, the magnitude is going to be around 0.707. So the 3 dB cutoff. And this is what we saw, the low pass filter. So the magnitude decreases as omega increases. And if you see the phase response, it's around it's minus 45 degrees at omega equal to 1 and keeps on decreasing, and it stabilizes at minus 90 degrees. The same plot. Now here I am trying to plot the frequency response on a semi-log graph. So I am taking my frequency going from 10 power minus 1 to 10 power plus 1, and this is my so let us see at we have a cutoff at 10 power 0, that is at 1, it is here, and at 10, at 1 decade, if we see it goes down to around 20 dB per decade. It's a first order system, and hence we have a slope of 20 dB per decade, and this is the phase response. For the same filter, now this is my step response, which is an integration of the impulse response, and that's why we have it in this manner. And this is my impulse response, e power minus t ut. So t equal to 1, t equal to 1 is going to be e power minus 1, and e power minus 1, that's around 0.36, then e power minus 2 is around 0.18, and so on. So this is a exponentially decaying impulse response. And coming to the pole zero plot, this is a pole zero plot For n equal to 1, we have one pole at s equal to -1. This is just to see the exact plot of the magnitude and the phase response for the Butterworth filter. So all that we have is the first order Butterworth filter is given by k0 by s plus 1. So once we have this we are able to get all other forms of representation of the system. So now let's move further and let's take the example for n equal to 2. Let's take the case of n equal to 2. So let's try to see the second order Butterworth system. The second order Butterworth filter. The second order Butterworth filter. So once again, the whole design is just based on one equation, which is given by k0 by s minus s1 into s minus s2. Because now here we have n equal to 2, we are going to have two poles. And my s of k is given by, the poles are given by the same expression, e to the power of j pi 1 by 2 plus 2k minus 1 by 2n. So in the first case, let us put k equal to 1. So I'll get s of 1. That is given by e to the power of j pi half plus 2k. K is 1, so 2 minus 1 is 1 and 1 by 2n. N is 2, so 1 by 4. And that makes it e to the power of j pi 3 by 4. And similarly, s equal to 2 will give me e to the power of j pi half plus k is 2, so 2 to the 4 minus 1 is 3, 3 by 4. E to the power of j 3 pi by 4. E to the power of j 3 pi by 4 is this. And similarly, e to the power of j 5 pi by 4, I get it as this, which is the complex conjugate of the earlier one. And hence we have our poles given by S1 is given by minus 0.707 plus 0.707J, and S2 is given by S1 conjugate, which is minus 0.707 minus 0.707J. So these are our two poles. And so my transfer function, my second order system is now given by, say, k0 by s minus s1 into s minus s2, where s1 and s2 are given in this manner. And this I can, let me try to get the second order polynomial for this. When we evaluate it, it will turn out to be 1.414s plus 1. So let us check if that is right. We can always use so we are having a second order system. So I'm computing my my two poles. So these are my poles, one located at e to the power. We have taken the same expression and we are having n equal to 2 and k going from 1 to n. We are getting two poles for n equal to 2. And suppose I want to get the polynomial that is obtained by using these poles. I just use these poles and get the polynomial. And you see the function, this is given by 1, 1.414 and 1. And hence we have the second order transfer function given in this manner. This is my second order transfer function of the Butterworth filter. And this the denominator polynomial, this s square plus 1.414s plus 1 is also known as the second order Butterworth polynomial. So similarly, if I get for n equal to 3, I will get the third order Butterworth polynomial. These are standard expressions, and it can be computed using this this equation. So once we get my h of s, I need to get the pole zero plot. So let's try to get the pole zero plot of our second order Butterworth system. we have already seen this is my S plane, and this is my real axis, and this is my imaginary axis. And then what I find is my pole S1 was located at minus 0.707 and plus 0.707 J. Whereas my other pole, this is my S1, whereas the other pole was located at minus 0.707 and minus 0.707 J. So this is my pole S2. And if we see the distance of each of these poles from the origin is a 1, and hence we observe that the poles lie on the unit circle. The two poles of the second order system lie on the unit circle. Unit circle. So now suppose I want to compute the frequency response h of omega. I need to compute s square, replace s by j omega, so j omega square plus 1.414 into j omega plus 1. So when I evaluate this, I will get the frequency response of the second order system. So let's try to get the frequency response of the second order system. For this, so this is my denominator given by, if I look at j square, this is going to become, say k0 by 1 minus omega square, is my real component, and the complex component is 1.414 j omega. This is my second order system, and let me vary omega for some interval, and let's compute the frequency response of this filter. We have program is written. I'll just walk through the program. So n equal to 2, I'm getting my two poles using this expression. Then I have my denominator, which I construct the polynomial from the poles, and there's a function poly. Then I plot the pole 0 plot. There's a residue function which helps me in getting the partial fraction representation of each pole, and using that impulse response is given by the e power minus 80. So using that, I get the impulse response and I plot the impulse response. And similarly, I'm computing the step response, which is given by the integration of the impulse response. And here we are computing the for each pole we have the polynomial, and taking the polynomial, we are just taking j omega and once I compute the denominator, I take 1 over and I get the frequency response. So let's run the system for n equal to 2. So let us see the frequency response for n equal to 2. So this is what we have. Once again, if you see at omega equal to 1, the magnitude is around 0.707, and hence the cutoff still remains as n equal at omega equal to 1. This is my magnitude response, and this is my phase response. You see now the transition band has improved, and this is the same frequency response in the semi-log plot. And now if we see, this is my omega at omega equal to 1 and omega equal to 10 at 1 decade ahead. At a decade ahead, if we see the attenuation, the gain is minus 40 dB. So that's what we say, 40 dB per decade for a second order system, and that's what we see in the log scale. This is my step response. The step response always stabilizes at 1 for a system. Of course, when the DC gain is 1. And this is my impulse response. I had two poles, so both of them give me an impulse, and then when I sum it, this is my impulse response of the second order Butterworth system. And this is my pole 0 plot. The two poles, and both the poles are located on the unit circle. Minus 0.707 plus 0.707 J, minus 0.707 minus 0.707 J. So this is our second order system, and we have seen the various responses. And now let us proceed to computing the transfer function of, say, n equal to 3 for the third order system. N equal to 3, the Butterworth polynomial, or this transfer function for n equal to 3. So this is going to be k naught by s minus s1, s minus s2, s minus s3. And once again, we use the same formula, s equal to e to the power of j pi into half plus 2k minus 1 by 2n by 2n. And then I will get my S1, S2, and S3. So let's take the help of, it's evaluating this simple expression, and let's try to take the help of MATLAB in evaluating it for n equal to 3. So I have my n now is going to be given by n equal to 3. And what I get is, I have my first pole S1 at minus 0.5, 0.866J, then another at minus 1, and another at minus 0.5 plus 0.8, minus 0.866J. The first and the last S1 and S3 are complex conjugates. And if I want to know the polynomial that is the denominator polynomial, because of these three poles, I get it as 1, 2, 2, 1. So this is what I have the denominator as. So we have the poles that S1 is given by minus 0.5 plus 0.866J. S2 is given at 1, and S3 is minus 0.5 minus 0.866J. And from this we have the pole zero plot. The pole zero plot of the third order system, the real axis and then the imaginary axis. Let me once again draw the circle of unit radius, the circle of unit radius, and then I have my poles. The first pole is located at minus 0.5 and plus 0.866J. This is my S1. My second pole S2 is located at minus 1, and my third pole S3 is located here, minus 0.5, minus 0.866J. So three poles, once again, all the three poles are located on the unit circle. And the transfer function the corresponding to this, the transfer function h of s corresponding to this system is now, say, k0 by is third order system. So s cube plus 2s square plus 2s plus 1. Either this way, or it is also, yes, let me try to get the polynomial corresponding to my first pole. My first pole is 1, and the third pole, my first and the third pole are complex conjugates. So I need to use them and form the get the vector. This is going to be 1, 1, 1. So that's why we have the same as s square plus s plus 1, and the other is s plus 1. So whenever we have n equal to odd, we always have a pole located at s equal to minus 1, and the other two poles are anyway the complex conjugate. So this is my third order system. Similarly, if I want to get a higher order systems, I can get the transfer function h of s, and I can get all other parameters, the frequency response, the impulse response, and so on. So now let us, for example, if I want to put n equal to 4. Sorry. I have, this is my n equal to 4. Let me put n equal to 4 and I'm going to get my 4 poles located. This is the location of the poles. And if I want to know what is my fourth order Butterworth polynomial, then I just have to create a polynomial with these poles, and then I have it as 1, 2.6, 3.4. It's all real because they're all complex conjugates. My imaginary term is 0. So the real component, if I, this is my Butterworth polynomial, the fourth order. So 1, 2.6, 3.414, 2.61, etc. Just let us now look at the system for the third order Butterworth polynomial. Let's see how the transfer function is. So this is what we have. This is my third order system. The magnitude response, we see now it's become more, the transition band has reduced further. And if I look at the same transfer function, the magnitude response for in the log scale, what I find is this is my cutoff frequency 10 to the power of 0. At 1 decade farther, this is a third order system, and hence my attenuation is now minus 60 dB. So by looking at the slope, I can always tell the order of the system. And this is my step response of my Butterworth filter, the third order system, and this is my impulse response of the third order system, which we again get just by doing the partial fraction representation and compare. And these are my three poles, minus 0.5 plus 0.866J, the pole at minus 1, and minus 0.5 minus 0.866J. So these are the three poles, all poles located on the unit circle. So now just we'll just run the same program, say for n equal to 7. And let us see how the system behaves. We see now we have made the order of the filter as 7, and what has happened is we have a flat. It's in the pass band, if magnitude response is flat, it's flat in the stop band. The transition band, the width of the transition band has reduced. And what is the order of what's the slope of my filter now? It's a seventh order system, so 20 dB per decade. So I'm getting almost around 140. So at 10 power 1, my slope is, my attenuation is minus 140 dB. So very good attenuation in 1 decade. And this is my step response of the filter. It stabilizes to 1. Initially, there is a transition region, and the step response stabilizes to 1. And this is my impulse response. There is an overshoot, undershoot, and finally, once again, the impulse response tends to a 0. And this is a seventh order system, and hence how are my poles? I have a total of 7 poles, all the poles on the left half of the S plane, and I have 3 poles. Whenever the system is odd, we said we always have a pole at minus 1, and the remaining occur as complex conjugate pairs. And we also see all the poles are equally spaced on the circle on the left half of the S plane. So let's take one more example, say of some even number, say n equal to 10. Yes, we find this is a 10th order system, so we find even better improvement in our magnitude response. The transition band width has decreased, and looking in the log scale at 10, it is a filter of order 10, so 20 dB per decade. So at omega equal to 10, I have a slope of minus 200 dB. So very good attenuation in 1 decade. This is my step response that I get for this system. And my impulse response, of course, I should have drawn for a larger amount of time. Then we will see that it eventually goes to 0 as time increases. And let's look at the pole 0 plot. We have 10 poles. It's an even order system, and hence there is no pole at the there's no real pole. All poles occur in complex conjugate pairs. And once again, we find all the poles are equally spaced on the unit circle, all on the left half of the S plane. So to summarize, what we have seen is we have seen that the Butterworth filter, we can get the complete transfer function S minus S1, S minus S2, and so on up to S minus Sn by using the single expression, and where all the poles are given by e to the power of j pi half plus 2k minus 1 by 2n. So once I get this transfer function h of s, I can get the impulse response h of t by representing it as a partial fraction method. I can get the pole zero plot, and I can also get the frequency response h of omega by replacing s by j omega. So, and we are able to get all this for any given n. Once we get the order of the filter n, I can get the transfer function and hence all other performance both in the time domain and in the frequency domain for the filter. And the denominator polynomial is also known as the Butterworth polynomial. So this is what we have seen today. In the next module, in the next module. In the next module, we shall see how to get the order n. So today we saw if I am given n, I know to get h's. Now in the next module, we shall see how to get n that meets the given specification. So we'll be given some filter specifications, how to get n, and we shall also see the frequency transformation. Or the frequency transformation, that is to convert. We have seen only designing the filter. All the filters that we have seen are having a cutoff frequency of 1 radian per second. Tomorrow we shall see how to convert this prototype, this filter with a cutoff of 1 radian to any other filter of any other cutoff, of any given specified cutoff. So this is what we'll take up in the next module. Thank you.